and welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing a video that I have done a couple of times in the past, and that video is 22 books to read in 2022. So this is just like a goal TBR list for me. It doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, but these are just some books I would absolutely like to get to in 2022. So starting off in no particular order, we have Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. So I bought this on a pre-order, and from what I understand, it is a Peter Pan retelling, which sounds really fun, and the cover, gorgeous. I actually use this book a lot when I am staging furniture to sell because it has such a beautiful cover, but I would actually like to read it. Next, I have Fangirl by Rowell. If you have been around on my channel, you have absolutely seen this book on so many of my TBR lists, and I just can't believe that I still haven't read it. But 2022 is going to be the year. This is absolutely a top priority for me to finally read this book. It is a collector's edition. I was so excited when I picked it up, and I just have never picked it up to actually read. So in case you aren't familiar, Fangirl follows the story of a girl named Kath, who is a fangirl of Simon Snow. She writes fan fiction, she follows the forums, she's very into that fandom. However, her sister has since grown out of the fandom. It's not really her thing anymore. So when they go to college, Kath's sister decides that she wants to room separately from Kath to find her own identity outside of what they have grown up with. So this devastates Kath, and as she has always had Ren, her sister, there for her in every aspect of her life. So this is a story of who Kath is. And I think that is amazing. I think that sounds so fun. And I don't want to say this is the end of every book, but this is definitely one I want to make a priority for this year. Next is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. So I was gifted this book for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it sounds like such a fun, light, contemporary YA read. And it follows the story of Liz, who has had her dream plan set out for as long as she can remember until her financial aid for schooling falls through. And she remembers that the prom queen gets financial aid scholarship or something along those lines. And so she sets out to be prom queen. Next is a book that has made an appearance on every single one of these, and that is Let's Talk About Love by Kahn. Kahn, I have met in person. She is so sweet and such a sweetheart, and this book sounds like it would be so fun. I just have not picked it up yet. And this follows the story of Alice, and I want to say, yes, Alice, who has just gone through a pretty bad breakup and is sworn off of dating until she meets Takumi, and her summer drastically changes. I think this sounds like a fun LGBTQ plus rep little YA contemporary read, and it would be perfect for me to pick up this year. Next, we have a thick one, and that is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. So I read this Savage Song a couple of years ago, and it is one of my all-time favorite reads. It's a 5-star read for me, and I have not picked up the sequel yet. What I have learned about myself is I should not start series because I never finish series, but I do want to finish this one. It is so thick that it is very intimidating. What happens between August and Kate after the end of this Savage Song, as I think we are either on the brink of war or the war has officially begun. Next on this list is a book literally every single person that I know has been talking about, and that is The Invisible Life of Addy Larue by V.E. Schwab. Same authors, and that was not planned. But my best friend read this book last year. She said it was amazing, and we're looking to buddy read it this year, so it'll be a reread for her. But I am super excited. I have heard nothing but great things about this book. Obviously, with such a hyped up book like this one, you hear the good and the bad, but I think it is overwhelmingly positive things that I have heard. And I know nothing about it, and I kind of think I want to keep it that way as I go into the read. Next on this list is Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly. So I watched this movie a couple of years ago and didn't know that it was a book. And so now, of course, I want to be sure that I read the book. The movie was so good. I loved it so much, and I expect the same for the book. Then we have another book that has been on these TBR lists for a while, and that is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Colthurst. So from the little that I do know about this book, I know it has LGBTQ plus representation, and it follows a princess who is, I believe, in an arranged marriage, but then she meets someone. Who that someone is, I'm not 100% sure, but this follows their intertwined and complicated and messy love story, and I love the whole idea of that. Next is another book that has been on quite a few of these TBRs, and that is Part of Your World, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. So Liz Braswell has a bunch of these twisted tales out. They are recreations of Disney stories, but so this one is What If Ursula Had Won from The Little Mermaid, and I think just it's a very overwhelming thickness that stopped me from reading this, because The Little Mermaid is one of my favorite Disney princesses, and I think I would really love this. I just have to get over the mind block. Next is a book completely out of my typical genre and comfort zone, and that is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. So I went to the Hemingway house in Key West, and I loved this cover, so I picked up the book, and I have had this book. Those were my Key West vlogs, which, oh my god, I don't know how many years ago that was, but those are quite a few years ago, and this has just been sitting on my shelf since. It has gotten a little bit bent from all of the moving craziness, but yeah, I would really like to pick this one up this year. My dad was super excited when I bought it, and he asked me about it the other day, and I was like, yeah, I definitely haven't read that yet, so maybe this will be the year. The next book on this list is Her, and I actually don't know who this is by. I can't read the author's name. Pierre Alex Jonty. So I saw this on a Twitter thread where people were talking about how much they loved this poetry collection, so I picked it up. I haven't read it yet, but there is, it's called Her 2 that's out now, and I love poetry collections, so I feel like I'd like this. I don't know much about what the theme is or what I'm going into. That Twitter thread was very convincing. Next, I have In the Penalty Box by Kelly Ann Blount. So this is a friend of mine, and it's by Lynn Rush and Kelly Ann Blount, so they co-wrote this book. Kelly Ann Blount is a good friend of mine, and as we can see, I did already start the book. If you watched my Vlogmas, you would know that I was debating between Michigan versus the Boys and Into the Penalty Box, and I ultimately went with Michigan versus the Boys to read because it was on this list of 21 books to read in 2021, and I wanted to get at least one book on that list. So this year, I want to get to this one. I will finish this one because technically I started it. Next, I have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like I'm the only person in the universe that hasn't read this book yet, which means I also haven't seen the TV show, and everybody that I know loves the TV show, but I really want to first dive into the book. So I have Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I bought that at the same day I bought Fangirl all those years ago at a Target sale. And so I didn't realize that it was a much bigger universe that started with Shadow and Bone. So I picked up Shadow and Bone a couple of years ago, and I definitely plan on diving in. Next on this list is Tiny Pretty Things, and it is by Danielle Clayton and Sonia Charapatra. And this is also, I think it's a TV show or a movie, but I have owned this book for so long. And now that the TV show / movie, I can't remember which one is out, I am absolutely interested in reading it. The only thing I know about this book is it is about ballet, and it follows ballet dancers, and I think there's some sort of mystery or thriller aspect. I could be completely wrong on that, but that is what I think that this book is about. The next book I have is another book that has been on multiple TBRs of mine, and that is Fans of the Impossible Life by Kate Selsa. I have owned this book for I don't even know how long now, and I was super excited to read it when I first got it. I still have that excitement. It has, from the description, it sounds like it has really great representation in it, so I would like to see how it all plays out in the book. So from what I can kind of understand, it may follow 3 different people, or Mira may be the main character, but Mira is starting over at a brand new school after she went to a recovery facility for a few months for depression. And here she meets Jeffrey, who is just coming out of self-isolation after an incident at school. And we have Sebi, a gay best friend who is in foster care. So together they make this new life at a new school, and I think that sounds so fun. It sounds like such a fun YA contemporary read that really hits on the mental health representation, which I love in books. So I would like to read it. Next on this list is a book I can't believe I haven't read yet, and that is How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow. So Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow is one of my all-time favorite reads. It's a 5-star read, and I am obsessed with it. And so when she announced this book, I pre-ordered it, and then I got it, and then it sat on my shelf. So I would really like to read it. So from what I can kind of understand from the description, it is about a girl named Tiger who is best friends with her mother until her mother unexpectedly dies. It is about the grief process and just kind of how it takes a toll on Tiger. I really like books where romance is a subplot or not a plot at all. It really sounds like this is a book about self-healing and growth, and I feel like I would really love that. In case you're staring at this rip at the top, the book did get damaged during the move, the multiple moves I did this year, but it's definitely still very readable. The next book that I have is Femix by Cassandra Tate. Let's go ahead and address the fact that my dog did eat some of this book. I don't think it affects the readability of it. It just affects the looks. But I remember when this was on Wattpad and everybody was talking about it, and I never really got the chance to read it when it was on Wattpad. But now that it is published, and Cass is such an amazing and sweet and kind person, and I would really like to take a look at this phenomenon. But from what I understand, this follows kind of a reality show that is there to offer a distraction from the crumbling world around them. And a reality show is called Fishbowl. She actually did a few episodes of Fishbowl as marketing for the book release, which I thought was super cool. So the Femix are the, and I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but they are the stars on this show, and our main characters offered a spot. The next book that I have is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha, and I am obsessed with this cover. Number one, let's all just take a moment to look at it. I love this cover. I honestly have no idea what this book is about. I pre-ordered it because somebody was talking about it on Twitter, and they were obsessing over it, and I was like, if you are that in love with a book, I want to read it too. So I pre-ordered it. I've had it since. I did, back in the day, did some promo for it for an Instagram account that we used to run called YA Author Life, and I just never got around to actually reading it. So that is definitely a priority in 2022. There are also a couple books on this list where I couldn't find the physical copy. I am still unpacking books and setting up my bookshelves, which is a whole other process that I am filming. But for the sake of this video, I will just put the book covers over here. The first one is Song of Achilles. I know very little about this book. I picked it up at the Black Friday Target sale where I pick up a lot of my books. It's buy two, get one free. I think it's an amazing deal. Everybody is talking about this book from the book talk community. I am no longer on TikTok, but I have still heard nothing but good things about this book. I also was obsessed with the Percy Jackson series as a kid, so I feel like as I grow older, Song of Achilles sounds like an amazing read. If I'm being honest, so this is a book that has been on these TBRs for quite a while now, And I actually have it by my bedside, I believe. It's on like that table, or it's somewhere in my bedroom. But it's so that when I go to bed at night, I can read a little bit before I do. That is something I want to incorporate in 2022. But yeah, this follows the story of a girl whose name I cannot remember at this particular moment, but it is a retelling of Shakespeare's The Shrew. So I think her name is Carmen, but I'm not going to go off of that. But she is seen as a class A bitch until her crush catches her in the peak of her bitchiness, and she decides to go on an apology tour. That's the gist from what I have gathered. That could be completely wrong. Next is The Astonishing Color of After. So this is a book that I bought solely based off of BookTube. I saw so many people ranting and raving about how much they love this book. From what I understand, it also deals with the grief of losing a family member, possibly a mother. Just kind of a self-healing and soul-searching book, and that is one of my favorites. And last but certainly not least, we have Smash It. I know absolutely nothing about this book other than that cover is gorgeous. I bought this book solely based on the cover and the hype I saw about it on Twitter. I pre-ordered it, and I have had it since the day it came out, and so I just am super excited to read it. And so that is all of the books on this list. I believe there was 22. I really hope there was 22. I know I said in my last video I would be filming a Bookopoly. Since then, the Bookopoly board is definitely missing. I know I've said this a couple of times. I did move 4 times this year. It absolutely could have gone missing. But I am in the process of recreating a new board. It is based... I will actually let that video explain how that board is going to work, but I'm super excited. I'm working with 2 of my friends who are actually artistic and I am not. So I have the concept idea and then I'm going to let them make it a reality. So probably won't be ready until February, but I am super excited to introduce that to you guys. But in the meantime, I will just be doing the recent reads videos like I have in the past. But if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.